Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks very much. Welcome, Secretary, and thank you, Chairman, for this hearing. As the chair of the Senate Caucus on International Narcotics Control, I've been working to focus more on the financial networks and flows that support the international drug cartels. My experience in my U.S. attorney days and in many years on this committee has been that we put a great deal of focus on the importation of drugs from these cartels and by these cartels. But for every package that comes over the border, there are dollars that flow back to the cartels. And I think we've been less successful at degrading, exposing, and ultimately destroying the financial networks upon which these cartels rely. What, in your view, are the things that you could be doing to more effectively attack the financial side of the drug cartel network?
Senator Whitehouse, I share your experience as a former United States attorney. As a matter of fact, I was a federal prosecutor for 12 years, almost 9 years as an assistant.
We've all done the press conferences with the drugs and the guns and the cash.
So we are already seeking to disrupt the financial networks of the cartels in an unprecedented way. Within the Department of Homeland Security, our Homeland Security investigations agents are very focused on that, and they are attacking that not alone, but with their partners in the federal government.
I'd like a proper briefing on that. Would you coordinate that for me and invite other members of the committee to join if they would like?
Most certainly, Senator, because I would also like other partners of ours to join in that briefing from the Department of Justice as well as from the Treasury Department.
It strikes me that there are American interests that can facilitate these financial transactions, whether it's through law firms or hedge funds or yacht brokers or whatever. It is part of a general global problem of kleptocrat secret financing, kleptocrat and criminal secret financing. And I look forward to working with you to improve what we're doing against that, and in particular, to build support for the law, the Enablers Act, that would, in the same way that we prevent banks from going about this business, and we've begun to investigate shell corporations who go about this business, we'll be able to put some restraints on American law firms, yacht brokers, realtors, hedge fund managers, and others who facilitate this trade. So look forward to working with you on that. Separate matter, you oversee the Coast Guard. There is a very significant pirate fishing problem, which also overlays with a slave ship problem, which also overlays with a vector for drugs and weapons and other evils problem. The Coast Guard has a very important role in all of this. Recently in Panama, Secretary Del Toro of the Navy and your Deputy Commandant Peter Gautier met to discuss improving the engagement of the Coast Guard and the Navy together. I would like to ask you to get back to me in writing. This is a question for the record. First, what are the next steps you need, including steps by Secretary Del Toro, to make sure that the Navy is fully supporting the Coast Guard's effort against the international pirate fishing fleet and against the Chinese fishing fleet where it's violating international and local laws? Question one. Question two, what additional resources does the Coast Guard need to do that international work? I will tell you that when Lindsay and I led the previous Munich Security Conference delegation, General Townsend was then in charge of AFRICOM, and he, in his briefing, told us, not in response to questions, he volunteered that one of the things that's important to the success of the AFRICOM mission is the ability to get after the pirate fishing and Chinese fishing fleets that are operating in the EEZ waters of these African allies without their even knowing it, because they don't have the capacity to do it. And he believes it will help our national security mission on that continent if we can more aggressively track and identify and alert the local authorities to the presence of pirate fishing. So the Coast Guard does not have the global footprint that the Navy does. What do you need? That's question 2. Last question is that for lack of official enforcement by the United States government, the NGO community has stepped up in important ways to do enforcement. Whether it's Global Fishing Watch or Vulcan or Sea Shepherd, there's a whole array of NGOs who operate in this space. They both need intelligence about the location of these pirate vessels, and they can offer intelligence. It can be a two-way street. They're very active and they're quite capable. We are trying to figure out how we can set it up so that they can have access to appropriate intelligence that can be deployed in real time against real vessels when they cross real boundaries, and do so in a way that protects the sources and methods and the classified matters that we should not be allowing to get out. I think there's the ability to create sort of a vestibule where the information that's needed can go in, be screened, and then once it's screened, get out, but be screened like in real time, not one of these, whole of government interagency task force things where it takes a decade. I would like to ask your commitment to help set that up so that we can be both receiving and providing intelligence about these vessels in real time.
You have my commitment, Senator. May I say 2 brief things?
Go for it.
One is the U.S. Coast Guard is doing extraordinary work in this area. I have been briefed a number of times with respect to what it has been doing in South America specifically. You identify illegal fishing and specifically the aggressive actions of the PRC in this regard. It is very much a problem.
By the way, do you agree that the fleet that the PRC has launched also often accomplishes other goals for the communist government in China involving surveillance and non-fishing activities?
That is certainly a very significant concern of ours. With respect to the dissemination of intelligence and information, one of the overarching objectives of our Office of Intelligence and Analysis is to distribute as widely as possible as much intel and information as possible in real time that is relevant and actionable at the lowest classification level possible. So your request to get this information out to the force multipliers in civil society is something that I will take back to our Undersecretary.
You actually have good models for doing this in other areas
Yes,
that can be applied readily in the IUU fishing area. So I look forward to working with you on that and to your written reply to those 3 questions, which I'm sure your diligent staff were carefully writing down behind you. The last thing, uniting for Ukraine. I think we've been able to give shelter to 50,000 Ukrainians fleeing Putin's atrocities and brutalities in Ukraine.
More than that, Senator.
Is there anything more that you need to help the U.S. Help more parolees from Ukraine find temporary shelter here until Ukraine can achieve its victory?
So we are very focused on uniting for Ukraine. I believe the last figure I saw was that we have provided relief for more than 100,000 Ukrainians. I will confirm that figure. One of the needs that we have is to resource U.S. citizenship and immigration services. As I referenced earlier, it was an agency that was financially devastated during the prior administration, and we're very focused on getting it back into a safe and secure financial condition.
It seems clear to me that Ukraine has demonstrated enormous patriotism, and that those who have fled the brutalities and atrocities of Vladimir Putin are truly seeking only temporary shelter and employment here so that they can go back and help rebuild their lives and their country. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, it is, Senator.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse. Senator Grassley.